All right. And we are live. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Project Liberal. Specifically, we're talking today about Epstein, Russia, and all the news of the week that we missed. I want to talk about the latest conspiracy theories as well. I don't know if you guys are interested in that, but Dave, you want to start
Those
us
are
off?
always fun.
Yeah, I've got some things I want to talk about. All right, so let's go over from the start. So first of all, the big release. Well, let's start with some good news here. The good news is that Congresswoman, who is being delayed forever, Adelita Gravelad, I can't never pronounce her last name, but that Congresswoman from Arizona, fortunately, is now allowed. She's been sworn in after the longest time. And with her swearing in, she was about to become the final Epstein vote. The final vote to convict Epstein, and alas, looks like our good friends Laura Loomer and Nancy Mace said no and rejected that. So at least she's sworn in. Thanks for the longest. She was sworn in. She was supposed to get 15-month long term. She's already lost 50 days, so it's like just under 2 months. Kind of bananas there. You got any thoughts, David?
Sorry, I missed the question.
Oh, I just said, like, do you have anything to say about that yourself, or?
Yeah, I mean, this has been a year of a do-nothing Congress, and it's kind of interesting that here we have Thomas Massey and the Democrats are accomplishing more through a discharge petition than the whole entire Congress has accomplished in months. For those who don't know, a discharge petition is a way of bringing legislation to the floor that enjoys popular support in Congress, but for one reason or another cannot get scheduled for a vote either by committees or the Speaker of the House. It's kind of a backup procedure so that one person in Congress can't just block everything when it's popular. In order to do that, you have to have the majority of signatures of seats in Congress. And because sometimes seats are empty, that's actually more than a simple majority of the people who are in Congress. So it's a pretty high hurdle to cross, but it's been met for this. And, obviously, the White House is not behaving as if there's nothing for them to be afraid of in there. They're clearly very terrified of what's in those files coming out to the public.
Without a doubt. Especially, I think we've seen now why they were afraid this whole time. We just got...
No, I don't think we are yet.
Not even just a taste?
I think we're just seeing the tip of the iceberg. Everything that we've seen in the headlines this week does not come from the Epstein files. It comes from the Epstein estate. It's basically his extended family, which has access to his emails and stuff, and they're releasing things to Congress that are not part of the closed files. That even those congressmen who've seen the files, they're not allowed to release what's in there. So this is just emails, right? And when you're in a dirty business of sex trafficking, the least amount of stuff is written in email, right? We know that there's way more in the judicial files. We know that there's photos, there's videos, so there is stuff to come out. I'm seeing rumors of things, but I have no idea what's actually in there. And the interesting thing, even though Epstein was charged, ended up dying in prison, with the visitor logs mysteriously missing, as well as several minutes of video, and the camera on his cell was just mysteriously off. Lots of coincidences happened. that night, but we're told it's absolutely a suicide. Ghislaine Maxwell was sentenced and convicted by a jury who got to see the evidence that's in these records. And despite all that, not one single person who was a customer or client of Epstein who was involved in all the sex trafficking has so much as been charged, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot in there. And according to the emails today that we're seeing, today, yesterday, that we're seeing from Epstein, he saw Trump as possibly the worst and the worst behaved of his clients. That was kind of interesting because there's some bad people with some bad allegations in there. It's not just Trump by a long shot. There are powerful, influential people from around the world who were apparently clients of Epstein. We don't even have the list. We don't even know who all these people are. So I think that is also going to be very interesting. He was not a partisan person. Epstein wanted to get close to anyone in a position of high wealth and high power and basically traffic to them. So, yeah, I think despite how shocking some of the emails are today, I don't even think it's... I think it's just the tip of the iceberg that's coming.
That's interesting.
The real tip will be kind of the documentary evidence that's in these files. Some of that will just be from titles from the court docket of what was being entered. But I think what's going to be the real scandal breaker will be when those photos and videos come out, if they can even be released to the public. Because I suspect that, what some of that material is expected to be, that it will never be seen fit to be released to the public. Maybe we'll get a description of it. But yeah, we're talking about rape of minors. So I don't know how they release those court records.
Well, I mean, you saw maybe the Megyn Kelly. She was talking about how it was a 15-year-old. Is it like really, it's not a 5-year-old. That's the line. Did you see that?
Yeah, and that's always your standard rejection of people who are the absolute worst. It didn't happen, and if it happened, they deserved it, right?
Classic.
So for years, we've been hearing excuses of how it didn't happen. Couldn't possibly be Trump, right? We get all the lamest excuses. Oh, yeah, maybe he was an FBI informant. Well, then, why wouldn't he want it all released? Right?
Yeah.
He should have asked for that to be released when he was running for re-election, because, that would have seriously boosted his re-election. No, he's fighting this. And, I think everybody who seriously paid attention to the way that he's been avoiding this and lying about it, the files are on Pam Bondi's desk. No, they never were. And then they suddenly didn't exist. And I say they never were because people forget that before she was Donald Trump's U.S. Attorney General, she was Florida Attorney General, and she helped keep all of that sealed and help prevent Epstein from being indicted under Florida law. So she declined to prosecute when she was the Florida Attorney General.
I thought that was Alex Acosta.
Yeah, and that's basically how she became Trump's U.S. Attorney General, right? She has been keeping the dirty secrets for many, many, many years.
Do I have it wrong? I thought it was Alex Acosta who was.
He was the original, but Bondi became the Florida Attorney General and basically made that permanent. So, nope, we're not going to prosecute. and it got taken out of Florida's hands after that. Became a federal case.
Gotcha. Jeez. Pam Bondi also, I think she used to work for the government of Qatar, which is also like kind of something that feels weird. I feel like, I mean, especially after that, airplane thing, after the whole airplane gate, it's especially just kind of odd. Like, I don't know, I'm not trying to be a conspiracy theorist, but yeah.
Oh, we don't need to go to conspiracy. We have enough facts,
Yeah.
right? And I would say at this point that everyone in the Trump administration is dirty, right?
Just
Some
about.
much more so than others. Some may be kind of blackmailed in their positions, right? It's possible. Um, so, but many, probably the majority, know about many things that are illegal and they are active participants. And as we've seen this entire year, Trump picks people based on loyalty, not merit, right?
Absolutely.
So everyone there has their position because they've been willing to show some level of loyalty, whether that's because they're in dirty with the same crimes, or because they're effectively blackmailed and they can't speak out about it. Everybody in this administration is compromised one way or another.
Yeah. Or they're just kind of bozos like Pete Hegseth.
So I expect, years from now, when all of this is written, there will be some people on the inside who are probably blackmailed who've been trying to do the right thing in a subtle way. Because you often get those stories, right?
Yeah. Marco Rubio's
even
100% coming out and saying that he was actually low key. He was just trying to, be a moderating force in the Trump administration. Just wait. He will say it.
But yeah, Pam Bondi's not going to be one of the ones
No, she's like the worst of the worst.
who's working to get the truth out into the open from this administration. That is for sure.
Definitely not. Definitely not. Ugh.
But yeah, this is going to be it. This is really going to be, particularly for the Republican Party, this is a trying time for them.
Underrated. How hard can you? Eventually, you have to jump off the Trump train, right? Or when? Or do you?
No,
Do you
they
not?
don't.
Oh, not even like in 2027 or something.
No. I mean, you're seeing it right now when people are saying, sex with a 15-year-old isn't so bad. They're really trying to cue and make excuses.
Actually,
Some
it's
people are going to go all the way down with him, right?
I can't believe. Yeah. I can't believe major political discourse is now actually it's the ephebophilia or whatever they call it, ephebophilia. Oh
Yeah.
man.
But I think this is the point where you start seeing traditional conservatives find the exit from the Republican Party, right?
True.
They are not going to be voting for MAGA. There is going to be a great divorce within the Republican Party. They may not vote Democrat, but they're not going to vote for the MAGA Republicans who dominate D.C. right now. That's done.
That is done. Well, maybe we'll see. We'll see what Ben Shapiro does.
Some people are going to stick around, not because of loyalty to Trump, but to do damage control this year.
Yeah.
And you'll notice, pay attention to the lingo. Shapiro's definitely one of them. Gonna see if he stops talking about Trump and starts talking more and more about the issues, right? Some people are going to try and drag the Republican Party back to the issues and the principles. It's too late. No, yeah, it can't happen. This is going to be something. This is going to be like the Great Depression with the Smoot-Hawley tariffs, and the Republicans paid a 20-year penalty for that.
Yeah.
Right. And they tried to walk it back, way back there in, 1930, but way too late. Once once that shot is fired, you can't call it back.
Yeah.
Is there
Um,
an echo coming from mine? Just wanna make sure.
Your mic is a little quiet, Vince.
Oh, okay. It might be because I was talking away from it, but I'll increase it. There we go. Should be a little bit better now.
Yeah, you're good now. We were just talking about Epstein. You don't have to stream anything. I'm streaming Black Mesa on our
Okay.
socials.
I didn't know. It looked like Red Faction, like back like OJPS2 days.
This is Black Mesa. PS.
Nice. No, I think to pile onto that point there, David. I think that's kind of the issue that I've been telling a lot of people is that we know when Donald Trump is not on the ticket, Republicans have done.
yep.
You cut out there, Vince. Republicans have done. Okay, well, Vince, we can't hear you. Maybe do me a solid and DM him, Dave. But
No, but he's right. MAGA is really about the cult of Trump. And if it's for anyone other than Trump, they're not really showing up. They're not enthused. And that's not all of the Republican Party, but that is the dominant part. And people have to realize this seems to be really hard for Democrats to recognize of Republicans, and for equally for Republicans to recognize of Democrats, that neither party is a monolith. They are a coalition of different ideas and viewpoints, trying to get to that 50% plus one dominance in our American democracy. We do not have a multi-party system like other countries do. We have a two-party system, so those coalitions exist within the two political parties.
yes.
Right now,
cut out. I'm sorry, guys.
yeah. Let me finish here, and I'll swing it back to you. Right now, MAGA is the main part of the Republican coalition. They're what's dominant. They are, whatever, over 50% of the Republican Party overall.
Easily.
And if you're not on board with MAGA, then you're probably not making it through your primary. But that's going to change. Those Republicans who aren't MAGA, they just can't stay on board with this. Anyone with principles, any Reagan Republican, any Bush Republican, they're done with this at this point.
Yeah, it's actually very startling when you look at some of the quotes from Reagan. You look at the quotes from even Bush, to be quite frankly. It's startling to see how much the Republican Party has really moved away from those values. They've absolutely ran to the right as far as they could. And I think at the end of the day, and I don't know where it cut out, and I apologize about that. I have like this one little wire and it's really sensitive, but I think that's going to be the ultimate thing, is to see where is the Republican Party going to go after Donald Trump? Is it going to be J.D. Vance? Is it going to be somebody like a Tulsi Gabbard or Vivek Ramaswamy? Hell, for that matter, Ron DeSantis, right? I don't know where the party's going to go, because you've got people that are kind of in the MAGA stance that don't really want another run-of-the-mill establishment Republican. But I think this is where it's starting to fracture. We're seeing people like MTG realize that, people are starting to move from Donald Trump because he's not actually America first. But then because of the bitter taste, a lot of them have kind of moved away from MAGA in some way as well. Maybe not to the extent of becoming on the left, right? But certainly moving away from that in that regard. So it'll be interesting to see. And I think it'll be interesting to see how they try to realign a little bit. So.
I want to talk about that because Marjorie Taylor Greene distancing herself from MAGA.
That's an interesting one.
She is a consummate populist in a very remote Georgia district who always has her finger up in the air. And if Trump is losing the vote in backwoods Georgia, he's really done.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he'll have his followers on. There's going to be the people on, Fox News, Newsmax, and others. They'll stay with him to the bitter end. Probably even 20 years from now, they'll be talking about his innocence, just the way some ex-Nazis never learned from all the horrible defeat and ruin that Hitler brought to them. Some people will still be clinging to him, but uh, politically, it's crested. It's done. It's all downhill for them from here.
And I can't help but wonder if, like, and this is kind of something that always flutters in my mind a little bit, is that I wonder what the is the only way that kind of the Trump legacy stays alive in terms of political effectiveness is whether or not one of his children runs. I know this has kind of been floated around on whether or not someone actually will run or they won't run. But I mean, I think that that's kind of the thing is like, I look at a JD Vance, I'm like, there's no way he can carry forward the MAGA movement under the Trump name.
Not, especially if he has
I'm like,
especially his wife, dude. That's kind of cooked. How his
right.
wife's a detriment.
That's causing issues. And that's kind of my concern is that, like, I understand that, having someone like a Don Jr. running is really just political, really silliness. But at the same time, I don't know of anybody else that can really carry that same Trump the stigma, or if you will, or whatever, right?
I think it's Marjorie Taylor Greene. As like, I don't want to say it, but like, I don't know. It seems like she's the one.
Yeah. Not only that,
terrifying.
But we've seen there's a split within MAGA, particularly over Israel. The Groyper army, the Nick Fuentes crowd, and
the Ben Shapiro crowd, if you will.
Yeah, sure, Ben Shapiro crowd. Only Trump has been able to unite them.
Yes.
Right. There's nobody else that I think they can possibly rally around. Maybe I'm wrong, but right now, no. In 2 years, probably not. Trump's kids, maybe in 6 years down the road, they can start something. The public's memory does tend to get rather short. But right now, while they're still in power, in office, no way. They can't even start. People have to forget this level of scandal that's about to break for at least 4 years.
Yeah, and I think
I wanted it. Yeah, go for it.
That was the memory thing. That's what I was going to hit on. So the memory thing is really interesting to me because I feel like this was part of the strategy with Chuck Schumer. Either way you slice it and dice it, with the idea of reopening the government, it's very, very clear that these particular defectors deflected away from everybody else due in part to the fact that they're not up for re-election until 2028, 2030, and 2 of them are retiring. There's a clear strategy there. The question is what was the strategy? And this has been up for debate. And my current theory on this is that I like the Epstein theory. And what I mean by that is saying that I believe that Epstein, there is, I think it was Robert Garcia. I don't remember his name, but I think it was Robert Garcia that said they received these documents a few days ago. This was yesterday. So a few days ago would have been prior to the shutdown letting up. What I think happened was they received these documents and they realized, oh, hey, if we open up the government, we can swear in Adelita Guajarva or whatever. And I can't remember her name. I always mess up her last name. I apologize. They always... So with her being sworn in, it now puts Republicans, they can release the documents, pressure Republicans into making sure they do not deflect away from the discharge petition. And we're already seeing where it's starting to move the goal, move certain Republicans away, especially in the House, which are in vulnerable seats, to voting for releasing the Epstein files. That's my theory. And it's the only one that makes the most sense in my opinion. I've seen people say that it keeps the government delay the government closing for the holidays. I like that theory too, but I kind of waver back and forth on my theory and that theory of kind of the Democrats doing this to keep the holidays in Democrats' favor.
Yeah, I really hope the whole strategy was to reopen the House. If so, that's genius. They'll all be forgiven very soon. Because, there's still no guarantee of what kind of legislation comes out of the House as it is right now. But, if all we get is a vote on the discharge petition, I really think that's enough.
Yeah.
And that's going to be a tough vote for a lot of Republicans. If you got to face re-election, you don't vote for releasing those files, if you're seen as covering up these horrific crimes. So there's a lot of districts where I don't think you make it. I think you even have a hard time showing your face in many districts, such as Lauren Boebert, right? So she's quintessentially MAGA. She's a loyalist. But in her Colorado district, where the families of some of Epstein's victims live, yeah, I mean, that's how do you even show your face in public there, let alone have any hope of re-election or anything else. So this thing's going to head to a vote, and I think we're going to get a lot of Republicans voting to release it. The interesting thing to watch is going to be the numbers, because if we see a 2/3 majority of Congress, we're almost a half with just the Democrats. We get 100 Republicans crossing over, and then that's going to be a veto-proof majority from the House. And then it's on to the Senate. And, Trump, of course, is going to veto this to try and prevent it from getting out. But it's very likely it gets out there with the numbers that his veto doesn't matter.
Yeah, because I mean, at the end of the day, right, you can go right back to the House and they can override the veto, right? So
Yep.
I think that's kind of the thing too, and that's why I said, I mean, I don't want to give Democrats too much credit on that, because I get a little nervous when sometimes
Yep.
I believe that they do things very recklessly, but I think that they may have, if the game was Epstein, the Epstein files, I certainly think that this was a good strategy. If it was to simply reopen the government on the literal promise of a vote on ACA, I'm like, why are you even in office? There's no room in any which way or the other that the Republicans would actually bring forth a vote, at least in the House, right? They may bring it forth in the Senate, but that's because they know it'll be doomed in the House. I just don't see where they are that. I want to believe that they're not that clueless.
Agreed.
I want to say that there is some deeper strategy, and that deeper strategy, I'm hoping at least, was Epstein, but I don't know. I get nervous giving that much credit.
Yeah, I mean, don't underestimate our Democrats' ability to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. That is the one thing that really concerns me going into this next year. We're going to see the craziest crazies of the Democratic Party try to seize the moment. They're going to try and ride this wave because Republicans are going to look so defeated that we're going to get some people that, mainstream America just can't tolerate. And so that's also going to be a fight. That's what I'm really scared of this next year.
Yeah, I agree. Hey guys, I'm sorry I only came on for 5 minutes, but I also came on in the middle of like all chaos breaking out in my house. I have 2 youngins and we're getting some desserts and stuff. And so 7 o'clock is like that golden hour of where everything goes to craziness. So
I dig it.
Let me let you guys go, but we'll talk again later.
Yeah, def.
All right, later, guys.
Yeah. So the good news is, all right. So another thing to consider. You ready? Those of you who are holding Bill Clinton stocks, dude, you are up. You guys are up. Bill Clinton enjoyers, stand up and get yourself counted. You guys deserve it. Holding out this far. He was never on the island, it appears. Pretty fucking baller.
That doesn't completely clear him yet, but it is a very good indication.
It's true.
Right? Not all of Epstein's illegal activities took place on the island.
Still, Doug.
Quite a lot of them, we know, happened at his house.
I see.
His Florida house, which is located very close to Trump's Mar-a-Lago.
It's quite the coincidence.
I know today there's been some back and forth because there was an Epstein email that said President Trump in 2017 came to visit Epstein for Thanksgiving. Now the official White House flight logs show him going to Mar-a-Lago. So like, aha, Epstein lied. The Democrats are lying. Trump didn't visit Epstein. But like, dude, if he flew to Mar-a-Lago, he can walk to Epstein's house to visit him. Um,
Yeah.
people forget they were neighbors.
That's I wasn't expecting that.
And they weren't neighbors by accident. Yeah.
At least that's not. Now we have reason to believe that. Uh, Dude, Candace Owens, she's on a bit of a conspiracy theory bend these days, and by these days I mean like every day.
Does she do anything else anymore?
No, I don't think so. She like I just can't stand her because she gave like the most ridiculous conspiracy theory I maybe have heard thus far. So now the new conspiracy theory is that there were 12. I'm not kidding. 12 phones that were like active during that like belonged to Israeli government officials that were at the Charlie Kirk shooting. And I was just sitting there like reading this ridiculousness, and I was like, what do you mean? Like, no way someone actually unironically believes this. Because like, think about it. Like the group of people that like successfully infiltrated Hezbollah and Iran. These people are now bringing their cell phones on like an intelligence mission in the United States. Like, why? Why wouldn't they just spend $500 on burner phones? Like, you really think I believe that like they're dumb enough to bring their literal phones into?
Well, you're obviously not the target audience.
Clearly.
Her audience is just the most gullible anti-Semites who just want any excuse to blame Jews. What even is her audience these days? I think it's gotten pretty small.
No, she's like one of the biggest streamers on the right.
Is she really?
Yes. She's bigger than Ben Shapiro, painfully.
That is really
Distressing.
sad. I'm no fan of Ben Shapiro, but he has a bright mind, at least. He's a good debater, obviously legally trained to be a lawyer, so he can put together a coherent argument. And he can argue both sides of it, sometimes all at once.
It's distressing. She's like, it's the sign of the times. Like, it really is just like Tucker's party, I feel.
It is. It's bad times, but, I still have faith in America.
I do too.
I think we'll get through this. And, after the darkness, then comes the dawn, right? So, it's not the first time that America has toyed with fascism or even communism. If it hadn't been for Germany getting to fascism first, the U.S. might have followed down there because we were very much toying with fascist ideas in the 20s and 30s. And, fortunately, seeing how awful the Nazis became turned America around, plus the high price we paid to stop them. And I think we're going to get some more of that here. With all the devastation that people are seeing in the news that, Trump's ICE and Border Patrol are bringing to our communities, the devastation to our farming communities from his tariffs, all the MAGA stuff, it's going away. The whole America First disguise, which, for those people who don't know their history, the America First Committee in the 1930s was an organization led by anti-Semites that secretly were supporting Hitler by trying to keep America out of the war. Right? That is the origin of that slogan, America First. And it's no accident that that is Trump's rallying cry. In fact, it wouldn't surprise me because, in the leaked emails from Jeffrey Epstein, we saw that he was directly talking to Russian government officials on how they could work with Trump and manipulate
Yeah.
him.
What, like, he was literally advising for specific manipulation purposes? Is that... I kind of
Yep.
missed that part.
Yeah, no, it was specifically for manipulation purposes. Um, let me see if I can find it here. Was that Newsweek or Politico that broke the story? Yeah, in 2018, prior to Putin's summit in Helsinki, um, Epstein wrote to former Prime Minister of Norway, who is the Secretary General of Europe, and asked him to put Lavrov in touch with him. And again, we just have the email, so we don't know if those phone calls occurred or not. But he was directly talking about how they could get a handle on Trump, right? How they can manipulate him.
That's so, like,
And
Jeff
then we
is... So
have
Epstein's now like a
former
traitor.
Treasury Secretary Larry Summers emailed Epstein asking, "Do the Russians have stuff on Trump?"
Jeez Louise. So Epstein's like a double agent. He's a Russian... He works for them. He's one of their agents.
No, no, I wouldn't say that at all. Epstein worked for himself, and he was close to anyone in power.
But he was helping the Russians.
He was, yeah, sure, so long as it advantaged him. He also worked closely with Ehud Barak, former Prime Minister of Israel. He was close with Prince Andrew of the United Kingdom, right? Anyone could be a tool for Epstein. Yeah, so I have no doubt that he worked with the Russians and probably any other government that was in a position to offer him something.
Equal opportunist traitor. All right.
Yep. You're not really a traitor when you never have any loyalty to anything to begin with.
Is that how that works? I don't know if that's how that works, but it might be.
I mean, if you're a mercenary up for the highest bidder, can it really be called betrayal? Except when you're breaking your contract?
I mean, it could be called betrayal.
The guy was a sex trafficker, the scum of the earth, and he would work with anyone who could get him more money and power. That's as far as I see it.
Yeah. Jesus.
And it's going to come out, I'm pretty sure, in these files, that he also had some things on some of these other world leaders. I think that's why the royal family is quickly distancing itself from Prince Andrew.
No, yeah, for sure. That was like shocking. Something was going on as soon as you saw that happening, for sure.
Yeah, they have some kind of idea of what's coming. And they are definitely putting distance between themselves and Andrew and Epstein.
Well, it's only a matter of time till we figure out till we get heads or tails of all this.
Yeah, this is coming out. It's a matter of when. There are many copies of these documents. I have no doubt that if the Trump administration could just get rid of the documents, they would. But when you tend to start destroying evidence of these types of crimes, that's when somebody decides to risk their career and leak them.
Yep.
There's a lot of people with their hands on these documents, so they're not easy to get rid of, and it's just a matter of when they come out. Nobody wants to put their head on the chopping block to leak them, so as soon as Congress approves it, people will get this stuff out there. And that's going to be an interesting day. And we're going to see what happens afterwards because, I think Trump's going to get really desperate. And I think some bad things are going to happen.
That's not what I want to hear.
And we'll see what happens at that point, how fast Congress is ready to act. I think about as soon as these files come out, we could be seeing a successful presidential impeachment.
Dude, it depends on what they're in, but like, I feel like the ephebophilia defense is gonna hold up. As painful as it is to say, I don't know if we're gonna see a straight up impeachment, like a removal from office. You think that's in the cards?
I think that's in the cards. And honestly, that scares me because I don't think a President J.D. Vance would be any kind of improvement.
The thing about J.D. Vance is he can't hold the coalition together. That's the one thing about him. That's the big difference.
Yeah, that's true, but he can do a lot of damage as the president.
For sure.
And then that would be a vice president, Mike Johnson. I don't think I'm ready for that either.
Wait, does he become vice president? I thought they would just elect. I thought the vice president is then elected.
I could be wrong, but I know that the Speaker of the House is third in line for the presidency.
But that's only if they both die at the same time, I think.
Yeah, it could be. We've never been there as a country.
No, we kind of have. Like Nixon was forced out of office.
We've never been where we lost both the president and the vice president
simultaneously. That's true. That's probably not going to happen. We're not going to lose them both at the same time. Okay. Anything else? That is that. Is there anything else going on in the news? That's the big one, obviously. Is all the Epstein.
I mean, that's really dominating right now.
As it should.
Yeah. I'm trying to think what else of reference. Of course, we've got, the Russian propagandists are saying that victory is imminent because they're about to take a small town in eastern Ukraine that they've been saying they're going to capture for 15 months now, and they still haven't.
So
that's also interesting. And don't underestimate Russia as a destructive force that's operating in the background here.
You mean like they're doing this, or they're...
Well, obviously, they know about what's going on with the Epstein files, and they've worked with Trump. For anyone who doubts that, because Trump's always saying, oh, the Russia hoax, I want to point to the fact that one of his staffers, Jesse Benton, was arrested for colluding with Russia as part of the Trump team. Trump pardoned him, and then he still managed to get arrested and convicted afterwards on separate charges and go to prison. So, there are people who have been, we don't know what Trump's side of that was, but there are definitely people in the administration who have been working with Russia, right?
Yeah.
And, Russia's not about supporting the Republicans. They're about tearing America down.
Yeah.
Civil
War.
Yes. And the chaos that a future impeachment and all that brings, that's an opportunity for them to fan the flames, basically. So they will do that however they can, particularly because they have a war at stake in Ukraine. And, the sooner that the world helps defeat Russia, the sooner all this madness ends.
One thing that I never understood, like I can't stand when I see it, is we live in this weird kind of reality where the Russians can like openly and brazenly like do these misinformation campaigns, and everyone you can't even blame like exclusively can't blame exclusively one side or the other. Like, it feels like no one cares. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It
No,
just feels
absolutely. I
like
can't
why?
believe that here we are in 2025 and any news agency is still printing at face value anything said by Russia.
Yeah,
Like every day we expose their statements as lies. Like the whole thing that they weren't going to invade Ukraine or that they would take Kyiv in 3 days, right? They're the butt ends of jokes, and yet they're still treated seriously by so much of our news media.
yeah,
We have a serious issue there. We have some other things, as a nation we got to deal with, but we need to recognize that, you know, there are foreign hostile actors in our society who are destroying our access to useful information, right? Um, the point of this isn't
yes.
even necessarily
Like, it's
to
information
persuade us.
warfare, literally.
Yeah, it is information warfare. It's not, they're not trying to persuade us. They're just trying to get us
To
to the
hate
point
each
where
other.
we can't understand what's true,
Yeah,
where we can't make decisions based on facts anymore in our own interest. And, you know, that's a real threat. And society needs to take seriously this information warfare. The age of the internet has been a great thing overall. America really led the way. Information can race around the globe faster than ever, which has really, helped lightning fast further research, development, global trade. It's been a boon for all of it. But now we have so many active misinformation campaigns.
yeah.
You talk about these conspiracy theories, and they're all being fed. And I think everybody now has seen the armies of bots online.
Endless
Any
deluge.
social media platform. You mention certain keywords, and all of a sudden you're going to have an army of bots flooding your comments.
Yeah. Endless deluge. It really needs to be addressed. I don't know how to address it though. Like, you can't like start bombing their data centers, or I mean, you can, but like, that runs.
No, and the real threat is we can't attack free speech either. That's kind of what the United Kingdom is doing. They're getting rid of free speech.
Yeah.
But that's exactly what these totalitarian, authoritarian governments want. They want us to be like them and have governments control speech. We can't go there. But at the same time,
we can't go there, but surely
we
can
need
also
to look
like
at how the internet works and stop treating all information on it as trustworthy.
yeah. Don't you think though that there's a distinction between like, free speech, but then if you're like purposefully misrepresenting who you are and starting like a bot farm or whatever, like there are like, I don't want to say there's limits, like,
Yeah.
we can't just have an unlimited deluge of people misrepresenting who they are in actuality.
Well, free speech throughout all of American history has never included, fraud, has never included libel or slander. You can never say something that you know is untrue in order to harm someone, which is what we know is going on. But it's difficult to hold people accountable, especially when you have bot farms, and the bot farm may be in India working on behalf of Russia with, 100,000 accounts that all pretend to be Americans.
Yeah.
How do you legally untangle that? You can't really. You've got to take some kind of proactive measure. And I think we really need to just look at the infrastructure of the internet and see how it works. Maybe we need some slight de-anonymization. Just know what the point of origin of an account is, right? Is this person who's pretending to be American really even in the USA, or is this something that's originating from Asia? That's one step. But I think more than anything is that people need to just believe less of what they see and hear in the media, right? Whether it's on the internet or on television, whatever. Demand evidence.
Yeah.
Because right now what we have is too many people, and the left is guilty of it too, are in their echo chambers, listening to their select personalities, and we're not really getting enough access to good information. And I understand why a lot of people are afraid to kind of poke their heads out, um, because of this tsunami of propaganda, spam, and other stuff that just comes in. Um, but we've got to deal with this. We've got to deal with the junk information. And the age of AI, it's just going to get worse because it's going to be so much faster and so much more convincing in what they cook up. Who
I think
doesn't
social media
know?
is cooked. I think it's like
Who doesn't have an uncle or a grandparent on Facebook who's fallen for some AI scam at this point?
it's pretty much
I think everybody's got some older relative who's been fooled by some AI image on Facebook at this point. Um, and the intentional point is to deceive. Some of it's entertainment, some of it's jokes, and that's okay. But we have to do something about the misinformation out there and the fraud. And it's just going to get worse.
I think that social media is just. I think social media is just like formally cooked. Like we're going to be in a post-social media age. It's time to put the internet back in the box. You just gotta. Simple as that. Right?
You know, maybe we got to convince people to meet in person and go to the town hall again in the post-COVID age.
I'm into it.
I don't know what the particular answer is. I don't even know if there is a particular answer. But we as a society, we need to start getting more and more serious about this. Because this is going to be a challenge for the future no matter what happens.
You know, one of the things that just like drives me nuts is like for years everyone has figured like have said the things like, oh, you know, he who controls the children controls the future, and you know, think about who's educating your kids. And then our kids are getting educated on TikTok, like getting educated on X. Like that's where they are getting educated.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
it's actually just kind of crazy when you think about how much we've dropped the ball on this. Like Gen X is. I feel so bad for Gen Z because like they are straight up like the guinea pig generation for all things, you know, AI. Like
Yep. Well, and to some degree, they're better off because they're more innately familiar with AI. Gen Z can recognize AI faster than any of the rest of us. But that said, there's a lot of deceptive political messaging. You talk about TikTok and Twitter, right? And there's horrendous political messages out there. And it's being done by operatives of foreign governments. So we know that Iran and China have been using TikTok as a medium to radicalize young people to do things based on false information. So we've seen people trying to attach themselves to ships that supposedly were helping Israel based off a TikTok video. And it actually, you know, it's not. It's not even an Israeli-bound ship. But they can radicalize people in a moment using social media. Russia's actually doing that in Ukraine too. There have been teenagers that have been arrested that Russia managed to radicalize inside Ukraine and get them to try to do terrorist acts. And if enemy can do that in a time of war, think about it. Russia's dropping bombs on these kids, and they can still twist them to act against their own country.
man,
That's scary. And we are not taking seriously the threat. I mean, yeah, we can drop bombs on a country like Iran. If we were to go to war with them, there's no contest. But what could a country like that do by radicalizing people based on misinformation, right? Um, it's it's a new era. I remembered of the movie Sneakers, where at the end, I think it's Ben Kingsley character says there's a war going on out there, and it's not about who has the most bullets or the most guns. It's about who controls the information. And nobody can be trusted with the control of the information. We need to decentralize it. And particularly, we need to get away from some of these foreign governments. I'm a huge defender of the right to free speech, but I will be the first one to say that the right to free speech is an individual right. It does not apply to foreign governments, right? Free speech was never meant to be a tool of foreign states to use against our people.
So let me ask you a controversial question on that. Does that mean you're allowed to ban Al Jazeera?
So,
Oh, gotcha.
like, depends on the nature of the ban. Like, nobody should be forbidden to read it, right? But we don't necessarily have to give them a platform. They don't have a right to speak here. Americans have a right to import that if they want. But we don't have to give them any bandwidth.
So how does that work in practice? That doesn't...
I mean, that's difficult. I think we're still figuring it out, and that's what part of this TikTok debate. But what does that even do on something like X? I mean, Twitter's homegrown.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Maybe. I don't know, man. Who knows where all these bots are coming from?
Oh, obviously, a
Isn't
lot
it
of the
like
bots are coming
half of
from
Twitter's
overseas.
interactions are bots? Like,
But the network itself, it's an American platform, right?
yeah.
So what do we do? And again, I'd say there's a right to free speech, but there's not necessarily a right for one actor to have 1,000 bots, right?
Yeah.
Spamming the message. In an act, it's inherently an act of fraud. We need to have some kind of standards out there to curb the flow of misinformation. That's all I'm asking for. Maybe and I do want to protect people being able to be anonymous online, which doesn't really exist right now. The government knows who you are and what you're saying. But I do think people should be free from some repercussions, but we also got to have some evidence that these are really, people exercising their free speech rights and not state actors trying to manipulate us and deceive us. It's always a battle. It's been a battle since 1776, to be honest. When the founders had to use coded messages, to get things through, and the British that we rebelled against, they absolutely had censorship, and they abused the free speech in the free colonies to try and spread their message. So it's the tools have changed, but it's still the same fight.
Tools have most certainly changed. Of that,
Yes.
there is no doubt.
It's a bigger, faster reach. So we have to, both as a society and the government, we have to be ready to counter that and meet that. So yeah, it's a great discussion that we need to be having in the public. I think we need a new administration in office, a new Congress, a new president, before we really get there. But that is definitely going to be a future challenge.
I don't doubt it.
If we don't, I mean, the stakes are that we're really doomed, to be honest. So long as bad faith foreign actors can flood the American infosphere with misinformation, we'll never be able to elect someone in our own best interests. We have to beat through the noise, and we have to do something about this.
I agree. It's a really tough. I was actually talking with a member from Fire, and you know, it's just there's just no real good answer to like, you know, like back in the day, if Joe Rogan said something I didn't like, I just get on my soapbox across the street from him and say something. But nowadays, there was a famous example of a guy who was spreading like he had a radio show that so many people listened to, and the government I think ended up just shutting it down because they were just like they were scared of it.
Howard Stern?
No, what was the name? There was a. Let me look it up real quick. I'm gonna stop. Sorry to the gamers out there who came here for watching. So it'll take about a minute. There's a like priest radio show like 1950s or something. I was watching MASH, and that's where this is. Charles Coughlin. That's it.
Okay.
The Nation Shrine of Little Flower, the radio priest. He had a gigantic. He had 30 million weekly viewers at a time when the country only had 120 million people. So you had a situation where like a fourth of Americans were listening to this guy. And I think the government just eventually was like, you know what, you're scaring us. Like, we're over it. Like, they changed, like... I think they did that thing where, like, they changed up some sort of licensing to mess with Charles Coughlin, to mess with his thing. But, like, it was targeted. And so it's controversial for that reason.
And back then it was much easier to control because the airwaves were limited, right?
Yeah.
And the government had control of it. What do you do in the modern era of the internet, social media? And, you know, even if we took down TikTok, they'll just move to another platform, right? We have to deal with the source of the problem.
I think the only real way is to touch grass. The only thing you can do at this point is to just...
That's, you know, not a bad answer if we can get society
I think we just have to,
there.
like, I think we have to start... I was watching an article about this that someone made a movement called, like, abstinence. Like, instead of abstinence. And the entire movement's on the basis of not using these social media apps anymore. And I just think, like, but it's so difficult because, like, you know, they're designed to be addicting. What can you say?
Yeah. They're quick. I mean, it's not like, you know, you had to go to the store and buy the newspaper. And then you can really respond. You know, the comments you had to write in once a week. Now we got instant gratification. It's hard to resist that.
It's really challenging to resist that, yeah.
But we need to. I'm pretty confident we will. You know, we fought Soviet misinformation. We fought Nazi misinformation. It's been a challenge in every era. We just have to face this together as a society and decide, okay, how are we going to curb this?
And first step is to agree that there is a problem. The classic answer to that. Step one, solving your problem is to recognize that you have one.
Yeah, and I think that's really where we're at. We need more people to recognize that this is a problem we need to do something about. That nothing is not an answer. The solution is not banning people from hearing a particular message, and it's not active censorship of platforms. You know, banning TikTok, as I said, it's going to do nothing.
I mean,
the troll armies are going to flow right around that.
The issue with TikTok is that it's controlled by the Russian. It's got the Chinese algorithm. That's the issue. It's not just.
Yep. Yeah, they can insert and promote what they want. But, you know, in this modern era...
I want to push back on that, because the issue is it's one thing if the idea is that you're giving the town square to China. I think there's a distinction there. Where now China is in control of the town square, because now they get to, you know, do whatever they want. They get to just control what you hear and what you see and when you see it. Like, you have no...
But that's not entirely true. It's not true that they have control. They get to insert their message. The The
No,
town
no,
square is still
but
controlled by the people, but China has the giant billboard in the
no, no, no. The
background, right?
algorithm, it will just kill your reach. Like it's not true. Like, yeah, I guess
Yeah,
if you hunt for specific channels, but most people just they go like on the For Your Page thing, and so if they do that,
yeah.
you're only going to see Chinese approved whatever they want you to see, and so I don't know if I agree with you that like it's just
My
posed that.
analogy would be New York Times Square. It's basically the Chinese control all the video displays. The people can still go out there and they can meet each other if they try to, but they're gonna get bombarded with this messaging.
Yeah,
And it's not, just simple. It's not commercials. It's brainwashing in order to do you harm against our own interests.
yeah.
But, cute puppy videos, whatever.
Also
Jokes.
fun.
We're so easily distracted.
We're so easily distracted. No, we're dealing with god tier technology, and that's without a doubt our biggest issue.
Yeah, and with AI, it's
Our
going to
brains are
get
just not
more
designed to deal with
sophisticated.
this.
The frauds are going to get more difficult to detect. Just look at the advances that AI has been making in the last couple years. Till soon, you won't be able to believe anything you see on the internet.
True. Well, what do we do then? Oh.
Make newspapers great again? I don't know.
It's getting to that point, man. Grass touchers united.
I won't believe it until it's in physical print.
Is that what they used to say?
It's what we should be saying.
That's what we should be saying. Yeah,
Or as I tell people, go read a book.
just another way of saying touch grass.
Yes. That's probably one of the most difficult things for me to deal with Gen Z is so few of them read books.
Yeah.
I think that's also a problem with a lot of MAGA.
Definitely.
I wish more of them read books.
I mean, illiteracy is just becoming more popular, unfortunately. Because you start to not need literacy. Just, who needs to read nowadays? You just ask AI.
I grew up in a conservative family, and with books, you have an easy frame to argue from, right? The book doesn't change what it says from one day to the next. It doesn't come up with twist its argument around like these podcasters do and other internet personalities. I know Candace Owens will say something on Tuesday and deny that she said it on Thursday.
True.
So, the books
Do you think... Yeah, go ahead.
are a frame of reference so that even you can take something like an economics textbook and you can argue it back and forth on its merits.
Yeah. Do you think that Candace is like a grifter? Do you think she's doing it for... Like, she has to be, to some extent, lying, right? Or knowing that she's lying.
To some extent, yes. I think she's an ends justify the means type person. She's definitely, her agenda is very real, right? But she will say whatever to get there.
Yeah.
The anti-Semitism is very real. The dedication to MAGA is very real. But she knows that her key audience is even more bigoted than she is and much more gullible. And so she will say whatever she needs to keep them hooked and to keep them eating that chain of lies that she feeds them.
Ugh.
If you ever watch Russian television, which I don't really recommend that you do, but it's kind of the same. I mean, those people get up there and they lie to people day after day. And if you have a memory is longer than a goldfish, right? You recognize that, last month they were saying that most peaceful people, and all the military that we put on the Ukrainian border is just there for training exercises. And
Yeah.
today, where are your kids there? No, people lie day after day, but they feed into it, right? And unfortunately, we're becoming one of those societies. And people need to approach with skepticism everything they see and hear online. Especially, I say this, no matter who you are right now, especially when you agree with it and believe it. Confirmation bias
The worst.
is one of the worst things, right? That's how most people start to get led astray. A lot of these Republicans, they used to be not nearly so bad people. They were conservatives before they were MAGA, right? And they heard people saying things that they agreed with, and slowly it just got twisted and twisted to now, MAGA is in many ways almost 180 degrees of a classical Reagan Republican.
They're trying not to. Like, you saw that thing where they were claiming that Reagan was protectionist?
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, us liberals, we have far more in common with Reagan Republicans than
We had a
MAGA
meme
does.
about that. We had a meme where... do you remember that meme? Do you know that meme where the guy's, like, running and... I'll pull it up in a bit. But, yeah, where Reagan is now, like, left by certain standards. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, it's not wrong. Think about Reagan's, staunch pro-immigration stance, his strong stance of defending democracy in the world. There's a lot of things we disagree with him on, of course. But his at least spoken anti-tariff stance, even though he put in a few tariffs himself, he spoke out against them, even his own tariffs. So yeah, we've got more common ground. And to those Reagan Republicans, I would say, hey, don't be afraid to vote for someone that doesn't have an R next to their name, right? We're not asking for any permanent commitments. Just find your principles, recognize the threat that's happening to this country, and help us to bring it back. I really wish things were more like they were in the 80s with liberals versus conservatives. We would be much better off with that fight than MAGA, and even to point out, the far left. Whoever that is. That is definitely a term of art and not precision. Well, I'll pick someone. He's kind of a distraction right now, but Mamdani, right?
Okay.
New York's new mayor. And he's being made a big deal because he's the mayor of a city. He's not a governor. He's not in one of the higher positions of importance that really affects the lives of so many Americans. He's not in Congress, not a presidential contender. But yeah, the guy definitely has had some what would be far left statements that, regardless of how you feel, certainly at a minimum scares away mainstream Americans and does more to empower Trump. That's why they're putting him in the center of the media. That is why he is being elevated far above and beyond any
Mayor of
U.S.
New York.
mayor.
Yeah.
And they're trying to make him into some kind of national threat. He's just the mayor of New York.
Yeah.
And we need to not let these people, no matter how you feel about them, and honestly, I don't have my mind made up about them. I've seen some different things, but he's only the mayor of a city that's very, very far away from me. And that's not so key to the big picture, right? We're not fighting the important things. Don't let these things be a distraction. We have to, right now, literally save our country, fix its economy, fix its democracy, and then we have to save the democracies that are threatened around the world right now.
Yeah. True.
Because, you know, what we're seeing is just a microcosm of what's going on. Um, and for example, this week's headlines: Chile in South America is looking at electing, leading in the polls right now, a MAGA strongman who is literally praising their former dictator.
Man, what is with people? How did we fall so far so fast? The dictators are like now, like, it's just, man, like, it's just, I saw, how are we, like, we're just getting to the point where, like, we're like getting confused now, morally, about who was correct in World War II. Like, it's like, it was Churchill like the biggest villain? Oh no, like, no, he wasn't. Like, what?
Yeah.
How? I thought this was like done and dusted, but instead, like,
Well, in my opinion, and okay, I'm a little bit older than, you know, most of our listeners here, but you know, we say we won the Cold War because the USSR collapsed, but
yeah,
the reality is it never ended.
I think, yeah,
Sure, the USSR collapsed, but the KGB continued. They continued their misinformation. They've rebranded, so they're no longer associated with all the old scary things. And they're continuing their work around the globe of misinformation and subverting democracies. I'm going to say governments, but really they're focused on democracies.
yeah. They only want
And
to subvert
we fell
democracy.
asleep. We came to trust them. We said, oh, look here, brand new world of global trade. And there was, but we haven't been fighting the misinformation warfare like we used to. And they, you know, the KGB, those old Cold Warriors, not just KGB, it's a group of people who are allied with that mindset, but they played the long game. It's really, you know, and it's not communism anymore. It's kind of a global kleptocracy. These authoritarian leaders and the oligarchs that support them.
Yeah, it's true.
So, and that's the fight right now. Are we going to have a liberal rules-based order with democratic government and human rights? Or are we going to have governments led by strongmen who are empowered by oligarchs who cheat and swindle their way to having a disproportionate amount of wealth? And they will be nothing but free markets in name only.
Do you have a preference?
What?
I sarcastically asked if you had a preference.
I most definitely do. I like living in a world of freedom. You know, I'd rather serve in heaven than rule in hell.
It's a good line. Serve in heaven and rule in hell. I think one of the big issues is people don't really know where to even get started. Like, and the answer is volunteer with Project Liberal. But like, what? Like, is there like a piece of legislation? Is there just something like? People are looking for direction. I feel. I'm not
People
sure.
are too involved in their daily lives. They don't want to deal with these problems, and they don't think they can deal with these problems. But the truth is, you can. We are powerful as a people. And we're very fortunate as Americans that we have that power. We have the power to vote, as meaningless as that sometimes seems. We have the power to influence millions of other Americans with our voices, which is very, very powerful. People need to talk to each other. We need to socialize, and we need to talk about these societal problems. We have the wonderful gift of free speech. That, more than anything, is what stops these other countries and makes them authoritarian hellholes. Nobody can figure out what to do about their problems because nobody can talk about them.
True.
We can. We can openly be here on this stage and talk about how we're going to get a new president, a new administration, and we're going to fix our government.
Hold on.
Because we have free speech.
We got a returning guest, a cup of Joe Biden. So it's not just a cup of Joe, it's a cup of Joe Biden. He's on our Twitch. This is his second time here. Thanks for joining. I remember his name and his interaction. Thanks for coming. We've just finished talking about the news. Now we're just talking generally.
You know, I don't want to move back. I want to look forward. So I want us to not look at yesterday's presidents. I want to look at tomorrow's.
Who's
And
your
Joe
go-to
Biden
for 2028? Oh, go for it. Say what you can say.
Yeah, Joe Biden, you know,
Should run in 2028?
I don't
be
think he
insane.
can. We can do better,
could,
right?
theoretically.
And I'm not saying he was an awful president, but he really could have been stronger on a lot of things. He could have been less lukewarm, less incremental. And I hope that the next Democrat president is going to be someone who leads more strongly on issues. Much more strongly on democracy and much more strongly on taking care of our problems and doing so less incrementally, right? And we need to really stop being afraid to address some long-standing problems in our country. Like qualified immunity. I think we're, you know, with what we're seeing that ICE is doing every single day, that's got to be a key part of the platform. Maybe not this next year, but certainly for the next presidential candidate, that needs to be a leading issue.
Qualified immunity in general or just for ICE?
I would say in general. Right? I mean, obviously the immediate problem is ICE and the Border Patrol and their abuses of power. And the abuse of the pardon power, right? To get them out of their criminal acts.
Insane. Like he's been, like Giuliani got pardoned. Binance guy got pardoned by President Autopen.
Everybody's getting pardoned.
Sorry, I had to remind you.
We're going to have to really test the limits of that. You know, it says except for pardon power of the president is limited by impeachment. How far that goes, that is a question that I'm not sure the law has really answered yet.
That if he gets impeached, invalidates his pardons?
So there's no precedent for that. I believe it should. I don't know if there's some precedent that says that doesn't happen. But if there is, then we need to change the law or possibly even amend the Constitution. Because if we have a criminal president who gets impeached, then their pardons need to be undone. No protecting your accomplices on the way out.
No, I agree. And a cup of Joe Biden also agrees. It's really easy to abuse the pardon, for sure.
Yeah, so that has to be fixed. But right now, you know, the thing about a pardon is that when you accept a pardon, you admit guilt. So Trump has not been handing them out for what ICE is doing right now, because that would be admitting that they're performing crimes. So simply getting rid of qualified immunity, that's going to cook most of them. You know, I was talking earlier about Jesse Benton. He got pardoned for colluding with Russia by Trump. And then he got himself convicted again because he was still doing it. The pardon didn't go far enough. And that's what can happen with all of these goons who are abusing people in America right now. You know, I almost said U.S. citizens, but I want to be inclusive because they're not just U.S. citizen rights, they're human rights. And we are abusing the human rights of people who are guests in our country. And really, I feel a national sense of shame. I'm talking about the people who did everything right when they came here, right? Because Trump claimed when he was running for office that he would go after the worst of the worst, and we're seeing him actually go after the best of the best. Yeah, he's going after Korean workers here on visas who are trying to open factories in the USA. He's going after spouses of Americans who are here on permanent spouse visas, right? Um, he's going after people who are in the process of becoming American citizens, who show up to their court dates and are doing everything by the book, and he's going after them. And afterwards, after we get this out, we owe them an apology, and we need to make things right.
Sure.
I hope that the next presidential administration creates a fast track to U.S. citizenship for anyone who's wrongly expelled from the country.
Yes.
Right? I feel right now horrible. There's a lot of, for instance, Venezuelans. That's a horrible country, turned communist. People are starving to death. And people came here because of America and what it is. Because of democracy, because of free markets. And if you know very many of them, they are some of the most pro-America people I've known, or at least people who've come here. Because they've seen the horrible things that happened from communism in Venezuela. So they're all about the American dream. And Trump just let temporary protective status expire for some 300,000 of them that all did the right thing. They followed the system, so he threw the system out so that he can throw them out. That's not right.
No.
And these people, if they end up back in Venezuela...
It's also... Yes, go for it.
They're going to be political prisoners. Many of them will probably be executed. The best chance is that they live in crushing poverty and they survive. And Trump's opening up these third country deportations, which are just crazy. He's deporting people straight to prisons, to labor camps in El Salvador, where they're abused. He's trying to pay off African countries to take people.
Yeah.
And who knows what's going to happen to them there. And it is an atrocious abuse of human rights, and it is against everything that America has stood for since its founding.
One of the most annoying things is that it's so, oh God, it's just been so backwards to watch, because you have individuals who are, like you said, following the system. Now no one will, in subsequent administrations, will want to follow the system, because the guys who did it got screwed for it.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
They outed themselves by following the system. And the
if you're an immigrant
our
now,
Afghan collaborators are now like totally like fucked beyond words. So they're going back to Afghanistan.
If you're an immigrant now, even if the administration changes, you have to be afraid that we could elect back, a MAGA Republican. And so why should you follow the legal system? That seems more dangerous, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
So far from stopping illegal immigration, we are incentivizing it. We're encouraging people to live under the radar here. So,
the real question is how we get people on board, because I'm just like increasingly concerned. Like there's this great this meme where it's like, me and like my expectations for 2025, and it's like we all live in a free democracy and end of history and all this, and like 2025 actually, and it's like the guy's like fascism is bad, and the other guy's like, Rock, is this true? Like it just feels like we need to figure out a way to like, I don't know, like what are we gonna do with some of these MAGA people? Like they are like, again, like Shapiro is being phased out, whether it's because he's Jewish, or in Vivek it's because he's Indian, which is like, it's just like we're having this very weird moment where like the right is going down this, and like here's the thing: they're doing this. They're doing this bigotry by talking about quote unquote heritage Americans. I don't know if you've heard this phrase before, but the
Yeah,
right
I
has been
have.
using the phrase, for those of you in the audience, has been using the phrase heritage Americans. And what they mean by heritage Americans, it's just code word for white, because like it's basically only black people and white people have been in this country. White people and slaves essentially are the only people who have been in this country long enough to be considered heritage Americans. You're not going to get a lot of Jews, very little Mexicans, very little. So, the question is like,
Yeah, well,
how?
it's going to dial down further than that because I think you already just hit the nail on the head, right? They're white, but oh, you can't be Jewish, you can't be Hispanic, you can't be this and that. Just give them time; they'll eat their own. Um, I really think that we have the people now. A lot of people who voted for Trump have buyer's remorse. We and Trump narrowly won, so we don't actually need a ton of people. We've got the numbers. What we need is more people to take action, right? Um, and we need people on board with the Democratic Party right now, um, because, sorry, I'm going to talk right to the Reagan conservatives right now. In this
They need to
moment,
hear it.
you need to get on board with the Democratic Party, even if you plan on getting off later, because it's the only way we right the ship of the entire country, right? If it takes a dive to communism, you can get off. You don't have to stay there. You don't have to vote for every candidate with a D on their name. But we need more good Democratic candidates, and we need people to support them and get them to fixing the system. And we've got to hold their feet to the fire and keep them honest. We can't be having sellouts, right? We talked about what was the real cause of this vote in the Senate.
Say it again for the
We've got
people
to
who aren't
hold
here.
people to liberal principles.
That was like an hour ago. Repeat it. And by the way, yes, the jump of Joe Biden is 50.1% is the big mandate they got. Exactly. So did you want to
Yeah.
repeat? It's been a bit, so just really quick, because I'm sure we've had some people who've changed. What was the reason for the vote in the Senate?
So the reason for the vote in the Senate was the continuing resolution, not a budget, and some Democrats and independents who had been blocking passage of the continuing resolution got together with the Republicans. They modified it, and that's key because the House already passed a continuing resolution, but it has to pass in identical forms in both chambers. So by
Yep.
modifying it, they kicked it back to the House. The House has to vote on it in order for government to reopen. And it's just a continuing resolution, just temporarily reopens the government. It's not a budget. Congress's
2
job
months at
is to
this
pass
point.
a budget. And all they've done this entire year is pass a series of continuing resolutions. And I believe the whole point of that is they are trying to run down the clock on the healthcare subsidies, right? Because when they were written into law, can't remember what it was, 2018, 2019, something like that, they were not written as a permanent expenditure. So they're not maintained if there's not a budget.
Yeah.
So they're trying to do an end run, around the constitutional budgeting process and just do a series of continuing resolutions to fund the government temporarily till the clock runs out on healthcare funding. And I will be one of the first to say that here's the reality, Democrats, got to own up to it. Obamacare is far less than perfect. A lot of people are struggling on it. It did not deliver on its promises. But Republicans, no points for you. You got to have a replacement. You can't just strip people of their health care and continue taxing them even more than before. Because, yes, tariffs are taxes, and people are paying more in the grocery store no matter how much Trump lies about it. So American people are hurting. Healthcare in the modern era, I'm sorry, it's essential. We have to do something about it. We can't, doing nothing cannot really be an option. We have to have a plan. Um, and I know we don't really have consensus on what that should be, whether we move to individual plans or we move to single payer, whatever. The purpose of Congress is to discuss that and figure it out, not to throw the ball at the window and go home. And that's what Republicans are trying to do.
Big true. I'm gonna call it in about 10 minutes, but just wanted to let you know. Probably shouldn't have said it because people are gonna leave now. But as we're wrapping up for today, and we can do this again tomorrow if you'd like. Enjoyed having you on today, David. What are we looking forward to in the next 2 weeks? When was the last time Congress passed the budget on time? I don't know when we can. Yeah, I'm hoping we can. Susan Collins is what people are going to be looking at. What a weird race with that guy. It's like, oh, we have, the establishment, except that one guy has a Nazi tattoo. It's a little bit weird. It's like, okay, dude. Anyway. Okay. So, moving forward for the next, let's say, looking ahead for the next, what are we looking at? Like, next couple weeks. What are we expecting on the Epstein front? What are we expecting on the budget front? What are we expecting in general?
So it has to get scheduled for a vote, and that's probably going to be sometime in December, actually. I expect Mike Johnson to drag it out as long as possible.
That's his style.
Yep. Give the Trump administration as long as possible to work over House members. So that's going to be out there beyond 2 weeks. Right now, in the next 2 weeks, we're going to see what they do with the continuing resolution and if they actually pass any bills. So they actually had a vote on the continuing resolution. They took it up and they did the first part, but they've got to have some more votes. And if anything changes in it, like they strip out this horrible hemp prohibition that they tried to put in there, or this legal immunity for senators to sue the government and get funds back. Those are things that I'm hoping the House strips out, but they're going to be contentious. Any changes have to go back to the Senate. So this can ping pong back and forth until the clock runs out, really. And they also need to pass a National Defense Authorization Act. So they need to fund the military, which has its own separate bill.
That's right.
That often may...
Is that through the DoD?
Yeah, that's kind of for all of the military outside the general budget. We have the general budget for the government, which, it includes some military stuff. They're huge bills, so no such thing as the clean bill. But the NDAA has a military focus. And so it's done every year, and it's basically a must-pass. And certainly for Republicans, they see it as a must-pass. It's through in the Senate. We'll see if the House takes it up and they can actually get something done. But my realistic expectation is everything drags out right before Christmas, and then they pass everything in a flurry of votes and go home.
That seems to be the very common. That seems to be their MO. It's not. Can't say I disagree with that.
And then nothing else other than the essential bills will get done. Luckily now, because of the discharge petition, the releasing the Epstein files is unavoidable.
Wait, didn't Nancy? Oh, I mean Nancy Mace.
Yeah, they got the 218th signature yesterday.
But I thought a few of them were pulling their signature. Am I wrong?
That is not official yet. It has 218 signatures until they pull it.
Okay.
And I think even then, now that it's in the news more, there's going to be pressure on more and more Republicans to co-sign. So
I mean, yeah.
Even if they drop, I think there's a very good chance that we'll pick up some other Republican votes.
I think that's true. Okay, that's a pretty good stream. For those of you who are here, I am going to be. I think I'll do a solo stream tomorrow night for Friday, like a little chill Final Fantasy, and we can talk some more politics, or we can just vibe. Dave, you can join if you'd like. Thanks so much for coming out, David. Really appreciate
Yeah.
you coming out. Thank you guys for joining us tonight on this stream, and we'll talk again real soon. Cheers.
Have a good night.